Welcome to Mini Moderns. My name's Simone and thank you for joining me on my tiny corner on the miniature interweb where we're here to think big, build small. So let's get into it. So today we are going to be picking up from our last video where I showed you how to make a removable, usable room box. So check out the link in the description for that video. So today we're going to actually be making a removable, usable hanging plant. So this plant, you can put in any room box and do your thing with it. I'm going to show you how to make a macrame basket, a vase, and the plant to go in it. We're going to go with a string of pearl type plant. I hope you guys enjoy this, and if you get something out of it, please leave a comment for me down below. Also, I will be leaving a link in the description for any of the products that I use in this, and a link in the description for my Etsy store for any of the things that you may see in the video that possibly might be in the store. We've got some printables and some nice decor items, so please go ahead and check that out. If you guys get any value from this video, don't forget to let your girl know in the comments. Let's get into it. Right, so today we're going to be making our macrame hanging basket, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I'll also be using this fruit shoot cap as my vase, but let's get on with the basket to start with. So what you're going to need is some macrame cord, and it looks something like this. I will leave a link in the description where you can get some of this from. And what we're going to do is unravel it. It starts in 3 strands, and then we're going to unravel it again. And in the cord that I have, each of the 3 strands generally has like 9, I would say roughly about 9 strands in each of the 3 strands, and we are going to be splitting those. And the reason that I do this is so that we keep it in scale. So for what we're doing, it's going to be 1/12 scale, and it just looks better. The thinner pieces of cord that we can use, it looks more realistic in my personal opinion, but you can have thicker strands if you want, depending on how you want to make your basket. So once those strands have been split, we're going to split them again into 4 strands. So what we want to end up with is basically 8 piles or 8 strands of 4 strands. So like this, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 you can count, 6, just make sure I've got them all here, 7 and 8. And in each of these strands you want to have 4 singular strands. And these strands are cut to 11 inches, and that's for tying the knots at the top and the bottom, but we will have excess so that you can cut them off. But 11 inches is about a good length to get started with, but you can fiddle around a bit later. So 11 inches or 280 millimeters is the length that we want to go for. Now we're going to pick up all of our 8 strands and then put them in a knot and then tie them together. And we want this to measure up to about 2 inches. So we have the ball of the knot kind of sitting at the 2-inch mark. But again, this is optional because this is the base that our vase will be sitting on, and the part hanging down is how much that you want. You can trim it, you can actually make it longer depending on the style you're going for. But for this project here, I want it to be roughly 2 inches. And again, we can trim this down, add it, it's entirely up to you. So as I said, this will be the base that our vase will be sitting on. At this stage, I'll suggest getting some tweezers or a crochet hook or anything that you might find handy for weaving or picking up the knots, because obviously at this scale it's very small. So now we're going to go back to separating our cord again. So obviously earlier we had them separated in 8 strands, and the reason for this you will find out a bit later on. It was more for calculations because we're going to need them, but now we're going to be doing 4 strands of 8. You staying with me? Good. So now we're just going to go all the way around and just separate this, so we've got 4 strands with 8 pieces in it. It's a bit of a tedious process, but what isn't in miniatures, to be fair? So just keep on going around and just making sure that you've got the equal amounts of cords in each of these sections. Double check and count, because when we're doing our knots a bit later, we just want to make sure that we just have the equal amount in each set of strands. So just double check, there's 4 there, 5, 6, 7, 8. See, that's too much. Pull those 2 out and put them in the first pile. And if you can see here, some of them might be wrapped over slightly. It doesn't really matter that much. It's not going to change how everything sits. So now I'm just going to go ahead and just split that and then move those final 2. Let me just check that we've got 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8. Okay, so each of these now have 8 strands, and this is where, before I make my vase, I'm just gonna use this as my skeleton to mark out where I want things to go. So as I said, we're going to place the knot in the middle of our vase here. So this is going to sit properly. You just want everything in place. And this is just my personal way of doing it. So you've got your 4 strands, you've got your knot in the middle. And now we want to make knots that go right around the rim or the bottom, the base of this vase. See where my finger is here? This is where we want to have our adjoining knots. So I'm going to show you how we do that. So we're simply just going to wrap it around our finger, and then using the tweezers, I just pull all of the yarn through, or the cords through, just to keep them all together, because it is quite finicky. So you kind of want to use your tweezers, pull it through, and then keep it at the distance that you originally had. So kind of keep your fingers in place. You can put the lid back as well, just to make sure that it's sitting exactly where you want. So I'll show you here. So because I want this at the rim of the base, I'm just going to push this up and make sure the middle is lined up, and this is exactly where I want my first knot to go. So we're going to go ahead and do that around the rest of the other knots, and keep checking as you go that they are the same distance from each other. So it's going to be nice and even. Congratulations, step 1 of the basket is complete. So now just make sure that it all lines up to the base of your vase exactly how you want. And this can be used on any size vase. Just make sure that the base is lined up, because you want the bottom of the vase to sit nice and snug in your basket like this. So now that we've got our first set of knots in place, it's time to do the rest of the pattern. And in the macrame, you know, you normally get that nice like a triangular look, and that's what we're going to work on now. So if you remember at the beginning, we had our 8 strands that was split into 4. Now we're going back to our 4 strands, 4 strands of 8, and splitting them back into 2 strands of 4. Let me just show you what I mean. So you just take one of your strands, which has 8 in there, and then just split that into 4. You see, just make sure 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 in each of those. So now we want to go back and have our 8 strands again. So just go all around your 4 original sections with the knots that we did, and then split those again into 4. Okay, so now that they're split, we're going to take the 2 strands closest to each other like this. Let me just show you here. So we've got the knots bumping heads. We want those 2 strands, and we are going to tie a knot in those 2 strands right there. You see? The same way that we tied the knot before, just using the tweezer and pulling it through. Just take your time with it, because you want to get all of your strands through. Just pull it, and then just leave a slight gap, the distance that you want it on your vase. So let me just make this a little bit clear so you can see. So we've got the 2 knots bumping heads at the top there, and this second section, we're just going to push this up until you're happy with the distance. Again, you can measure this up against your vase and see how far down you actually want your knots to be. Just working our way around now, splitting the 4 strands, because some of them might reconnect, but just split as you go if you want. So here I've only split the first couple, so I'm going to split another set here. So make sure I've got 4 on each side. So they're equally split into 4 again. And just like before, taking the 2 strands of 4 that are close to each other, have the first knots that we did connected, and then make another loop and a knot, and then have this knot lined up with the second set of knots that we just did on the second row. So this is the second row of knots that we're doing now. Again, you see, just use the tweezers to pick anything through that gets left behind, and you just want to make sure that your knot, you see here, if you want to make sure that your knot lines up perfectly with that second one. So always do it quite loose so that you've got enough room to kind of maneuver and push it up. And there you have it. So keep doing this method all the way around. Here is one more strand that had 8 pieces in it. We're going to split that, so we've got 4 in each. So those get split. So 4 from this section now is going to connect with the previous section. There we go. You've got the 2 knots bumping heads. And then we're going to go ahead and make another knot. And that is pretty much the pattern that we're going to be doing throughout. And then just use the tweezers and pull those all the way through. Again, using the second row that you've already done, just simply line it up and then just make sure that everything is kind of lined up at the same height and distance, because you don't want a wonky vase. So just take your time, keep the knot nice and loose, and then just push it up till it measures roughly at the same length as the other knots. So now you can do a quick test and make sure that you're happy with where everything is sat, and if it's not, you can undo the knots and just make sure that they're all at the same tension. So we're just going to repeat that same process again for row 3. So I'll just show again quickly. Once they're split, just tie a knot in them in exactly the same manner that we did before, and do that all the way around. So now we should have something that looks a little bit like this, and it's your choice how many rows or how many times you want to go around and do this. And here we go, is the test. So now we get our vase and then just pop that into the basket. So we want the base of the vase to sit on those first 4 knots that we did. So we just push that through. You can see those knots at the top. So that's the starting point. And then there's the 2 more rows. As I said, if you wanted to do more, you could. It's just entirely up to you how long you want to make the pattern go. But here is the basic, you know, gist of things. And we will be doing some more macrame knots on the remaining cords, so it's not just loose strands like this. But for now, we have got the starting block, guys. Pat yourself on the back. Let's go to the next stage. So to complete my vase, I used some air drying clay and I just molded it all the way around the vase. And I'm just going to keep this because I actually love these lids. I've got a whole bunch of them, so I'm going to be making so many vases with this. And now with the clay on it, I just wanted to test and make sure that everything sat perfectly. It fits nice. I can't really see it in this light, but it does fit nice and comfortably in there. So I'm going to put the basket aside for now while we work on the rest of the vase and the filling for our vase, i.e. the plants. So what I'm going to be using is some of my hemp rope. I'll leave a link in the description where I get this rope from. It's really great and it's so durable. So I'm going to show you how I make my plants now using homemade flock from sawdust, and I'm going to show you so we can turn this rope to look a bit like this, and this is going to be our plants. So I'm just going to talk you through the process. For the plants, you can use whatever it is that you choose. You can have any kind of style, but I wanted those string of pearl hanging plants, so I've mixed a few different textures and tones of greens to get the kind of look that I was looking for. So I just used my homemade sawdust flocking. If you would like to see a whole video on that, please let me know. Then I painted my hemp rope in the different shades of green for the stem using some PVA glue mixed with water, and I kind of just drenched the whole thing and then just dipped my hemp rope in the sawdust, so I had something that resembled the kind of vibe that I was going for. And then I just made a whole bunch of these and just let them set and dry. And while they were drying, I got to painting my vases. You can see they've got some nice ridges and indentations on these bottle tops, and I absolutely love them, and I think it helps with the vibe that I'm going for. So I start by adding a layer of green to my vase because I wanted it to have that kind of patina look. It's got age, it's got use, it's got value, and I just wanted to add that kind of feel to it. So I go with the green first, then I'm going to add it with some black, and then I'm going to wipe some of the, or dab some of the black off, so you can see that the vase has been used. So this is just kind of the look that I wanted to go for. And then we're going to add some brown. I'm just rigging all of the textures out of the bottle top because you can see underneath those ridges. I absolutely love them. And then with the age of the patina and the browns, I just wanted my vase to look like it's been used, but it will work in a modern home. So I keep on painting and dabbing and adding textures, and I'm also going to paint the inside as well. But if you just look closely here, it just looks used already. It looks like it's not freshly bought. But I will do some vases that look immaculate and fresh and new. But I do like the idea of vases having kind of a story behind them. So I kind of like that look personally. So I try to recreate that here, and I think it will look perfect for the modern room that this will sit in for now. Because as I said at the beginning of the video, not only is this a macrame basket, it's going to be a removable basket or planter. So here I'm just going to continue painting this and just dabbing on all of those textures and wiping them off until I'm happy with it. And once that's done, I'm going to add some of my Daz air drying clay into the vase because that is going to be my filler. That's going to be holding my string of pearls. So before obviously this sets and dries as well, I'm going to be prodding and poking and getting the holes that I need to put my plants inside. But you can use cotton wool, sawdust, whatever it is you choose to fill your vase with, but I just wanted the clay because I wanted it to be able to set and my plants not fall out once they were in there. So now I'm just going to push the stem of my plant into the clay, and then I'm going to use some tweezers to really get that solidified in there. And if you're not doing a string of plant, remember your stem can just sit in there and sit straight, but I want mine to kind of curl over the edge, so I'm going to really push my stem down and then curl it over, and then I'll be able to glue it into place when I need to. So I'm going to go ahead and poke a few holes in here and then just keep on adding as many strings as I'll need. So taking your time with this process as well, I'm going to be using some Gorilla wood glue to seal the clay and also to seal the plants in place, and it'll help add in the soil. But at this stage, before you add all of your strings or your plant for this particular project, you want to make sure that you have your plants in the desired position that you want. So this is a nice stage to kind of tweak the plants that you've got in there already and just make sure that they're hanging how you want. So for example, I'm just going to add some glue just to visualize where I want my plants to hang. I will be adding the basket and then putting the string of pearls over the basket, but I kind of want to make sure that they already form that hanging shape. So using the glue helps to kind of set it in shape, but before it really sets, we're going to lift this up in a little while. But I just wanted to show you how to kind of get the plants to set in shape. So we're going to just do this for a little while, and again it's to see where I want my plants to hang. So you can see now it's starting to flop over a little bit, so we're actually getting somewhere, and I'm just going to trim off any excess that I don't need, and I'm just going to keep on going round and folding and bending as I want. As I said, this technique is if you want to do those kind of droopy, like string of type plants. So here it is now looking a bit more full, and I added the soil on the top here, which was just my sawdust that I blended, and I will do a video on that, guys, I really will. So now I'm going to just show you how to do the actual rest of the basket. We want it all to look clean and still kind of uniform, not just a bunch of strings. So we're going to do the macrame knots, and I'm going to just show you how to do this now. So the first thing we want to do is split our string into 4 sets of 2. If you remember earlier, we had like 8 pieces of string per section. So now we're just going to split that up into 2 pieces of string times 4. So with your pieces split into 4 like this, you want to have 2 in the center and 1 either side for your left and right. So now we're going to be starting with our left piece, and what you want to do is cross it over the 2 middle pieces, just like this, like that. You see, cross it over the 2 middle pieces and then under the right piece. So you can lift up the right piece with that left one you've got right there. And then with the right piece, we're going to go under the 2 middle pieces and then under and through that left loop. So you should end up with something like this. You got your 2 pieces in the middle and your 2 pieces on the side, and then you're just going to gently pull all the way up so that your knot is where you would like it placed at the top. You see, like this, and just take your time with it. It is a little bit finicky because it's so small, but as I said, it makes it look a little bit better. So the next round we start on the right side. So we're going to go over the 2 middle pieces with the right piece, and with the left piece we're going to go under the middle piece and under and through that loop that we have on the left side. I really hope I'm making this make sense. Drop a note in the comment if it makes sense to you, or if you'd like me to explain it again. I really will just do like a slowed down version, but I'm hoping that we get this, guys. So again, once you've got your 2 strings in the middle, and just pull up so it goes up to your first knot that you've just made, and just take your time while pulling so you get the actual desired look. And then now we go back to the left side. I'm going to show you one more time. You go over the 2 middle pieces like this, under the right goes under the 2 middle pieces. There we go. And then it goes under and through the left loop. And you're just going to keep on doing this and keep rotating. For me, I did about 10. So just go left, right until you have your desired amount. And just remember, just take your time and just pull it very gently at this stage so you still get the look that you was trying to go for. So there we have this section done. The basket is looking super cool right now, but we just need to add the finishing touches. And what I'm going to do is use some beads and thread those through each of the strands. I've got these little beads here and I'm going to just thread those through the strands. I've got a really tiny crochet hook that I can use. You see, it's an 8.5mm crochet hook, and I'm just going to use that to hold my bead and then thread my yarn through. But you can use alternative methods of threading, like needle and thread. Try and get all of them through for each strand. And if you miss some loops like I have here, you can just thread it or hook your needle through the bead again, and then get everything back onto the hook and then just pull it and thread it all through. You just want to make sure that you have all the strings in the right bead so it all looks right and in place, and then just pull everything through and you should just end up with a bead like this. Again, it makes it more secure and it gives it that really cool look. You could actually do beads throughout the pattern as well. I may do some more baskets and show you that technique too. If you would like to see that, let me know in the comments. Again, I'm going to just add another bead. Voila, beads. I've now added beads to all of my strands and I'm really happy with how this is looking. At this stage, it's your choice if you want to keep the beads white or if you want to paint them, but I'm very eager to test it in my basket right now. So let's go ahead and pop this into the basket. So you can just open up your basket, because at the beginning we measured it up and figured out where the base was. It will all be the right size for this basket. You kind of just have to shove it in there. So now I'm just gonna push it down, lifting up those plants that I folded before, because I now want them hanging over the basket, but they've already got the shape from the preparation that we did earlier. Now this is the stage where you can kind of play around and see if your plants are hanging exactly where you want them to. If this is a regular plant, then you don't have to do any of this. You just pop your vase into your basket and you're good to go. So we're going to keep on pushing down until the base is sat nice and flush with the bottom of the basket. So just pop it up here, be really gentle. It actually is really nice and sturdy as well. So it's a good basket, guys. It's a good basket. So you can see it hangs really well, and you can just fiddle with it now and decide, you know, depending on the room that it's going in, which direction do you want your plant to be hanging. And now I'm going to do a little, here's one I made earlier. So as you can see on the other one, I've tied a knot in it at the top and added a magnet, and I've also painted the beads and trimmed it down. So now I've trimmed the bottom of my basket, and now I'm just going to make a knot in the top here. So just wrap it around your finger with all of the strings, and if you are making two of them, you do want them to measure up and be the same height as well. So here I'm going to just use the crochet hook. It's a little bit easier for me to just pull that through and then pull the knot down. And like I said, I want to make sure that it measures up to the one that I've already got. So I'm just lining them up and making sure that they're not going to have any wonky plants. Not in this house, my friend. So they're exactly the same height. And now we can just trim off the top, get some wood glue, and add some wood glue to a skewer or something so that you can paint it onto the top pieces of string. And then we're just going to fold it over and seal it down. So just hold that for a little while until it sets and dries in place. Once that's dry, we can get our magnets and stick those up on the top. You can use wood glue or super glue for this. Super glue is a good idea for the extra sturdiness, but you want your two magnets stuck together here just to make sure that they will be the right way facing when it's time to connect to the ceiling. I then went ahead and painted my beads so they match the other beads. I literally just used a little bit of brown and white paint, and it gave this nice little shimmer, the perfect look. So I marked out where I wanted my magnet to go on the top of the ceiling, and the bottom of the ceiling you can't see the magnet, but it's the right side, so it will connect. So you can't see the magnets underneath the ceiling, but you can see them on top. So now we have a situation where we can just put our magnets wherever we want. And so if you wanted to hang it in a room, you simply just go ahead. You can see the magnet there. There's a magnet on top of the ceiling that you can't see in the room, and you can just clip it. But to do some final finishing touches, I just wanted to clean up the top a little bit. So I just used some cardstock, or you could use whatever you want, just to cover up where the magnet is. So when it's in the room, you can't actually see the magnet, and it just looks a little bit neater. This is completely optional. So you're just going to get some cardstock and cut it into strips the thickness of your magnet and a little bit of the top of the macrame rope. And I'm just going to use a bamboo skewer to kind of give it that fold so it's easier to stick down. Then using my handy dandy Gorilla wood glue, I'm going to just stick the card cock. Pretend I didn't say that, please. Not sure if I mentioned that I can't speak, guys. Anyway, back to business. Stick the cardstock round with the wood glue. Hey, we did it. Already a cleaner look. So also what I want to suggest is that you use some kind of marker pen or something to mark out the magnets. So this is what the ceiling will look like on top. So you kind of want to mark on top of the magnets and your actual planter, but bearing in mind that your magnet is going to be underneath, so you won't be able to see the magnets. So just do a quick test before you put your magnets on. So say for example, I've already tested underneath and I know that red is going to match up with the red on this side, and you want to go ahead and do that on both sides. It just makes it easier when you want to take them out and put them back in. You just know which direction. You don't really have to, but quick things, you know. I decided that I wanted to paint my little magnet concealer and just use whatever color you want. I went with white, but it's your choice, just to clean it up a bit. Ta-da! So now let's take a look and see how the hanging plants can fit in any room. And there we have it, guys. You have now made your very own hanging plant, which you can remove. I hope you like this technique, and if you find yourself using it or you want to try it out for yourself, please let me know in the comments if you like it, if you've tried it before, and if you do want to share any of your own work, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. All of my socials are in the description, so don't forget to check them out. And if you do want to show any support over on my Patreon, there is a link in the description for that as well. Thank you all so much for your support, and I will catch you in the next video. See you soon. Like, share, subscribe.